protests.
The traction.
In Lagos, they were chased away.
The momentum.
So the momentum is gone. Largely, this protest that at least you could see that a quarter of the states in our country did not partake in it at all. The entire Southeast, Enugu state, people were going about, you know. In those states, they didn't think they should protest. They were not bothered.
But people sat down at home.
Yes, but sitting at home was just a preemptive step by some people. But they didn't practically protest. Because if they wanted to protest, they would have been marching through the streets. So, yes, they chose to. The point that I'm making is we saw in the Southeast, for example, they didn't protest. Ekiti State, they didn't protest. Ondo State, they didn't protest. Kogi State, they didn't protest. Benue State, they didn't protest. It's not as if there is no hardship in those places. But what this suggests is that they must have believed that that is not the solution to the problem. They must have believed that it could be hijacked, which will endanger their own lives. We've seen 16 persons already dead. 16? Yes, 16. And some of those who died were not even partakers in the protest. Some of the people who died in Borno State, for example, were just bystanders. Were unlucky to lose their lives. We said at the time that there is no guarantee that you can do a protest in our country that will not lead to loss of lives, that will not lead to destruction of public property, that will not lead to looting of private people's property. We won't. But we kept being told, look, protest is an inalienable right of the people. Okay, if you want to protest, what is wrong in localizing yourself in one place? Tahrir Square in Egypt. They protested there. Yes, they protested there and succeeded in bringing down a president who had been in office for decades.
They didn't go home.
They didn't go home. They remained there. Some of them were as old as 90 years. Ayo. So where did we get this feeling that until we stop people from moving about on the roads, until we irresponsibly block roads and stop people from moving, that we cannot do a protest? When we had the Ojota protest, the other in 2012, were roads blocked? I mean, if people cannot organize protests in a manner that will not lead to loss of lives, if you cannot organize protests in a manner that does not inconvenience people who are not prepared to join you in the protest, then they have to be made to account for what has happened. Look at Kano, look at that beautiful facility that Bosun Tijani and his people put together. The only thing they didn't loot there, Ayo, the only thing standing that they didn't loot was the standby generator, and it's because they couldn't carry it. Are you going to put a giant Meccano generator on your head? Are you a human forklift? Or will you go to Dangote to hire some of those cranes that they used to build their gigantic refinery? You know, so people died. I saw people stealing cement bags. What are you going to do with cement bag that you have stolen?
Someone that is hungry.
So you want to drink garri with cement bag? What is the meaning of that? And so more than 300 people arrested in Kano alone. And some of the things that they stole have already been collected from them. Groundnut oil, foodstuff, you know, fans, air conditioner. They were just stealing everything. One evidently crazed individual was using
on the traffic light, two of them
was using cutlass to cut traffic lights. You went.
The other one was
they went to in Katsina. They went to the house of the former president.
Yeah.
It was the soldiers that repelled them. It was the same anger that they took to the emir of Daura's office. I mean, palace. They
went to government house in Jigawa.
If even Kano, they were stopped. Look at the video from Kano. They stopped them. They also wanted to overrun the government house in Kaduna. When we say these things, you can see the beginning. You can know what the beginning will look like, but you will never be able to predict the eventual outcome. This is the point that we are making. When all these analysts and their lawyer friends come on TV to talk about the rights to protest, they never talk about Section 45 and Section 46. These are lawyers who, because you must be a responsible citizen first and foremost. And there are responsibilities that you as a citizen must take seriously.
I listened to Pastor Chris Oyakilome yesterday, one of the things. He was just saying that, look, nobody is saying that you should not protest, but don't destroy your property. Don't destroy the country's property. And people went ahead, they still targeted those properties and they still destroyed it.
Okay, anyway, first, let me be specific. Let me state this clearly, that an hungry man is an angry man. With the level of illiteracy in a community, people a lot of times do not even know how to go about their anger. And you know the rule of attribution. Even a man who is at home, I saw a placard of somebody who said she's 37 without a husband. Saying a bad government cause
Is that anger?
Is that anger?
I'm coming. I'm
telling me.
Yoruba people will say,
Is that
Hold on.
anger? That is a different type
you
of
saw one.
Oh, God.
You are bringing a different type of hunger. That's the thing.
Okay, hold on. See, hold on. I was only trying to pass the rule of attribution. Now, the frustration aggression theory will tell you that people want to attribute whatever. Even the things they should be responsible for. But simply because, they can lay it somewhere, they just transfer. So it is possible for people in the community to have a tendency to go the other way. And by the time you say, no, don't protest, they will tell you that our president also protested in his own time. He led the protest. So I spoke to a minister before the protest, a week. And I said I was expecting the president to address the nation. If they insist after engagement, if they insist on going ahead, maybe 2 days or a day before, and say, people, my democratic principles will be put to test here. You have the right. But these things you're protesting about, these are the things I'm doing on these things. If I wasn't doing anything, you can protest. But because I'm already addressing these issues through A, B, C, D programs, there will be no need for you to protest. And these are the times we expect to get results. However, if you insist on protesting, my primary job is to protect lives and property. So please ensure that the organizer should ensure that no single disruption of lives and property. If we notice that anywhere, we will declare curfew immediately. See, governance at some point is not a popularity contest. You take the decision you need to take for the interest of the larger majority. Now, if you check the numbers of those protesting, they can't be up to the numbers of those who are not, who are in their different houses. Now, have you considered that woman who rely on appearing on the roadside daily to roast corn to feed the family?
Yeah.
Have you considered the farmer who
yesterday and today?
Yes, who has already harvested the tomato, but there's no way to sell. He can't sell, and
Go bad.
of course, they will go bad. So those people are the ones that will bear the brunt. Have you considered the man that needs to ride Okada daily to feed? You and I can afford to stock our houses, our kitchen for the next 1 week, 2 weeks, even for months. But these people cannot. Now, if we are able to pass the message across that because of these ones, do not destruct, and you give the warnings ahead, I am sure that the organizer will tell them that the president said if he notices this, that they will catch also and they will ban this protest. Maybe that would have curbed it in the first instance. Now, That may not be a conventional approach, but because of the situation we find ourselves, there is no one-size-fits-all approach in cases. You only address issues based on the circumstances. So, knowing well that this is what we are prone to, is a black man disease from here to Kenya to South Africa, even go to America. Once there's protest, those who loot are always the black. We know this already. So let's be able to create a system, to ensure that we curb that. You know that this will happen. So if you know that you can't stop the protest, let's take the option B. Number one. Number two. Now it is easier to blame some people and say don't protest. Now let's also focus on the government. Now, I started listening to some few things the government, what they have done, and I'm saying, so what we've been shouting this since last year, that this government has a job, not just to communicate very well. We should somehow ensure that we de-emphasize this top to bottom approach. Let's take it bottom to top approach in communication. We shouted this even on the program. I think it was in Lagos. We sat in the studio and we said this government has the job of communicating much more than programs. Ever. Now, during the election, the president told us that the town hall was better, and we agreed. I defended that statement. Now, after he's in already, what happens to that town hall? What
explaining your programs,
talking to people regularly? What happens to quarterly review of what you're doing? What happens to if you can't do monthly review, quarterly? Now, what exactly is the office of the SDF doing that is supposed to coordinate the activities of the government? Set the KPIs. Let's be able to measure performance, deliveries, and the targets you are not, meeting. Review immediately and get things done. So, for me, I think that we can blame the people for being angry. Yes. But again, let's also say the government, they need to do better in talking to people. Do stakeholders management.
All right.
Do community relations. Please, I'm coming.
Our time.
Yes. If the government is able to do this, there will be less anger because you said, please give us time. Sacrifice for us. But they see that you are not sacrificing. We can't be subsidizing the government and you take the one that belongs to the people and you say they should not angry. So the anger is valid provided that the government has done what they did.
Let's look at the conduct of our security agencies. The Inspector General briefed the press yesterday. The Chief of Defense Staff briefed the press today. Let's look at their conduct before, during, and this protests. So far, how would you assess their conduct?
First, let me say people have a right to be angry, but they have no right to loot. And they have no right in the exercise of hunger to destroy government building and steal people's things.
Yeah.
You go into a rice mill and you started stealing their things. In some cases, after stealing, you set the place ablaze. You've robbed people of their means of livelihood.
That rice mill is a private concern,
yes,
not government.
Yes. Even if it belongs to government. They have no right to do that. People were stealing. They were stealing fertilizers and all that. This is the point. Why some of us felt, look, don't do this thing in this way. Confine yourself. They talk about President Tinubu doing protests. Was he not confined to the current, Freedom Square? Was that not where it was done? Did they block the roads? Did they stop people from bringing food into Lagos as they did during NSAS? Even this last one, they were blocking highways. And I've said some of the countries that you talk about, great countries of the world, in the UK, they jailed people for blocking road during protests. Let them check. Just recently, they jailed them. People have been sentenced to 5 years in jail. You have no right to block a road during protest. The same right that you have to protest, others have a right to not protest. So you cannot, in the exercise of hunger, be setting us back. We say we have infrastructure deficit. What they set ablaze in Kano, what they stole in Kano, what they looted in Kano, that facility, is the only one in the entire Northwest. So what have we gained? You set yourself back. And there are talents in the North that thing will have benefited.
People that...
So what are we talking about? I think the security agencies, going to your question, did very well. They did very well. In the face of provocation, they did very well. It's not easy to control a people who have made up their minds not to listen to you. It's not easy. Okay, if they left them to overrun the government house in Kano, for example, do you know what will have happened? So I think that they did very well. The police did very well, and I listened to the IG yesterday, the way he spoke. I was very proud of him. That was an excellent speech. He answered all the questions.
In the midst of crisis,
in the midst of
briefing
anger,
people,
he didn't lose his head.
updating people. Yes,
this is what we
and
want.
he was telling the police people that they are there to protect the protesters.
He told them, protest the protesters professionally, which means don't use live ammunition on them. But he wants that tomorrow, some of the things we tolerated yesterday will not be
Today I
tolerated.
saw a visual. I don't know, maybe it's current this protest. They were chasing those police guys, and those police were running. They were running away. They had rifles. Yes, they had rifles.
Because they didn't want to kill people.
From the crowd. Yes, they were running.
They didn't want to kill people.
They kept running.
What happened when they burnt down TVC? It wasn't as if we didn't have policemen, but they were not prepared to kill. They told them don't kill anybody. So they would rather run away from the scene rather than allow themselves to be provoked to then kill.
Yeah, I was in town and I saw the professionalism, 1, 2. And I also saw that we didn't have the invasion of the military. That is an improvement, a very strong one. Now, one thing we should also do on this program, I have seen all of the attention turned to the federal government. Whereas the states, how can a person be protesting in Warri and be shouting Tinubu when Delta State in 2023 collected 483.57 billion naira.
Come again.
In 1 year.
483.57 billion. See, the entire five southeastern states collected 680 billion. But Delta State alone, for the same period, collected 483.57 billion, amounting to over about 70%.
No state is close to them, even on the current fact. Not even Rivers.
Delta, states of the South
not even Rivers.
Yet a person is there shouting Tinubu.
Base,
Can you imagine?
All right, we'll take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk to Minister Ojo. So we'll be right back after this time out. Please don't go out.
Wires and cables, come and come, light up your life. Come and want to light up your house, come and want to give you better. Come and extra ordinary wire. Come and cables, come and wires, come and quality, come and durable, come and capable. Come and cables, come and wires, come and quality, come and durable, come and capable. Everybody, come and see. Come and wires, one in a days. Brother, sister, uncle, auntie, go get your own. Come and wires, come and cables, come and quality, come and durable, come and capable. Come and wires, come and cables, come and quality, come and durable, come and capable.
Coleman Wires and Cable. Great quality. Now with the new look.
We have seen this before. Let's not allow it happen again. This message is sponsored by Honorable James Abiodun Faleke, Member, House of Representatives, Ikeja Federal Constituency.
Thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout, and we're reaching you here from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, and I still have Kolawole Johnson and the Messenger himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, in the studio. According to Murphy's Law, anything that cannot go will go wrong. Now, this suggests that whenever something has the potential to fail or cause problems, it will inevitably lead to such ends. The ongoing nationwide protests over economic hardship appears to be suffering that fate in fulfillment of several warnings against the exercise. The protests seem to have been hijacked as they led to violence and destructions in many states like Kano, Borno, Yobe, and others. So, what does this portend for the future of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Joining us for this discussion is the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Ojo. Thank you for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Last minute, the government tried for a kind of pushback to dissuade the youths from registering their displeasure through protests, but they started the protest yesterday. What do you make of the whole event?
Well, first of all, I think there's a point of correction there. The government never tried to dissuade or deprive people of their right of airing their opinions. It's a right, but what the government tried to do, which is the core responsibility of government, is to ensure that there is peace, and of course that security of lives and property are actually secured, because the basic responsibility of government is to protect lives and property. So what government was concerned about and what government was interested in is about securing the lives of people, regardless of where they are. So that's what government tried to do. Government never tried to shut people out from airing their opinions. But the issue is that government has a responsibility in ensuring that there is a strategic balance between airing your opinion, between you expressing yourself, and of course, the protection and preservation of the right of the other people.
Now, looking at what has happened, looking back, would you say political motives pushed some of the protesters to actually take to the street? Would you say some people were actually behind the carnage that we saw yesterday?
Yeah, thank you. This was what the government has always been saying. Most times something might start off from a patriotic zeal and might end up in a catastrophic note, because people will always take advantage. People with ill motives, people with political motives, people with different intentions. I sincerely believe, this was what we tried to say, that when a crisis starts, you never know how it ends. And of course, it is difficult for you to control the crowd. For instance, I'll give you an example. I saw a video yesterday of somebody cutting street light. How does street light, what has that got to do with the expression of grievance against hunger? And I also said this on a sister station some couple of days ago, that when people talk about bad governance, we understand that, yes, the president, don't forget that the president is a Democrat. This is the first time since, I think, after the First Republic. Because in the First Republic, we had the Nnamdi Azikiwes of this world, we had the Tafawa Balewa, we had the Sardauna, we had the Obafemi Awolowos of this world in government. These were people that fought for the independence of Nigeria. But since the First Republic, this is the first time that we are having a president who himself is a product of struggle, who himself is a Democrat over the years. Don't forget that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he was not just a senator, he stood against the military. He fought for the right of the people. He fought he fought for the emancipation of the Nigerian people over the time. And the president, being a Democrat that he is a listening person. He wants to listen to Nigerians. And when you look at it, even before this protest, this is not a president that waits to be told the right thing to do before he does it. I'm not saying this because I'm a minister in his cabinet. Let's look, for example, look at the Northwest Development Commission that this government has been able to sign. Nobody is talking about that. That brings development down to the grassroots in the Northwest. Look at the Southeast Development Commission, because the Southeast region, some analysts have been talking about infrastructural and developmental exclusion of the Southeast region. This particular president has signed that into law. It is now a matter of the law. These commissions have been set up now to complement what we have in the Northeast Development Commission and, of course, the Niger Delta Development Commission. So the president has been able to do this to further bring development down. So that is not bad governance to me. And secondly, we must also understand that how many kilometers of road has this administration approved and how many kilometers of roads are presently ongoing. You need to see what was approved in the last FEC, which as to one of the key roads. This is the road that moves all the way to Sokoto. How many dams are we going to have? How many kilowatts of energy are we going to produce? How many irrigation centers will this bring to us? This is a president that is creating long-term solutions to long-term problems. I will tell you something, my brother. One of the things that I see is that because of the fear of what happened yesterday and today is the reason why presidents from inception have been somehow finding it difficult to take some bold decisions. Because why did I say so? One, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had not met subsidy, this issue of subsidy removal wouldn't have been there. And you saw what happened in the last FEC. It's not just about removing subsidy. In the Gulf of Guinea, we produce roughly 5 million barrels of crude every day in the Gulf of Guinea. Guess what? We still import refined product. What has the president done now, which was approved in the last week, is to ensure that Nigeria becoming the refining capital of crude for the entire West African and the Gulf of Guinea region. If that happens, I said it during the briefing, the job that our youth, over the years, that our Nigerian youths have, as we speak, in the downstream sector, is probably just as petrol attendant. This is not a president that wants to leave that sort of legacy for my generation. This is a president that has now said, okay, let us remove the dollar as the trading currency for refineries located in Nigeria. That is an incentive. That alone reduces 30%, roughly over $7 billion away from the forex demand of Nigeria. With that, the pressure on Naira reduces. Naira will stabilize. And he did not just say pay in Naira. He also went ahead to say, don't worry, we will peg this rate for 6 to 9 months so that at least there is predictability. For the purpose of planning, investors can come. Nigeria can become a refining center. If we have refineries in Nigeria, the issue of high petroleum price, because when you bring PMS to Nigeria, you pay for freight, you pay for insurance, you pay for all these things add up to the landing cost, which will be passed to the end users. Now, by setting this up in Nigeria, and thank goodness, the Dangote refinery is as good as ready. So very soon, in the next couple of months, the downstream sector, there will be activities. Jobs will be created. Prices of things will come down. So this is a president that is, I just use that as an example. He's a president that is busy creating, yes?
Nigerians, they are not interested in the long-time benefits. They are not interested in, the big sounding figures and everything. Nigerians are asking that we want to go to the market and buy tomato at a lesser price. We want to buy pepper. We want to buy rice. We are starving. We are hungry. That's what Nigerians, they're not demanding for too much. They are saying food that we eat every day. It has become a big problem.
How do we bring down food prices?
Let me say this. Let me say this. I get where you're going to. I said something. The president is a listening president. The president is a Democrat. It will be if anybody thinks that the president is not being responsive to the yearnings of Nigerians, then the person must be very uncharitable to the man. Look at his antecedents. And for you to know this, the president is balancing short-term, giving short-term cushion effects, as well as providing long-term solution. So the solution on the table is a hybrid solution. The solution on the table, for instance, now they have removed. We have removed taxes, import levies, and co from what they call food, from drugs, pharmaceuticals, and etc. We are trying to make sure that we are able to get this, what they call, to Nigerians in the short term. While in the long term, these plans of the period, these plans of the president can go through the gestation period, and of course create a permanent solution to the problem. So what we are saying is this: the president has never said Nigerians do not have a right to express their minds. No, he's a Democrat. I keep saying this. Look at his attitude, look at all his lies. He's a Democrat. And the president is a man in his 70s. You can look at his attitude from beginning up to this time. You will know that this is a man that has always been on the side of the people. He will not get to this stage and shut his doors against the people or against opinions. All the government is pleading with our youth for, and our people, is for us to give us a bit of time. The government is working hard to solve some of these problems, both in the short term and in the long term. As much as we understand that the systemic and institutional problems of Nigeria are long-term problems, and you need, of course, long-term solutions. But in the interim, the economic team of the president himself, being an economist, the president himself, being a financial expert, is working around the clock to create the temporary relief, pending when the permanent solutions will be able to find a proper footing in Nigeria. So we're pleading with Nigerians to say, please, just be patient. President Tinubu is working so hard. President is 14 months old in government. His cabinet is just 11 months. Please, we cannot realistically expect President Tinubu to solve a 64-year problem in 14 months. Just give us time. The government is working round the clock. I can tell you the truth. When they talk about bad governance, I personally have said this. I don't know who couched that, but if the issue of student loan is bad governance, I do not know how the issue of, within my purview, people will tell you, even for passport, they used to pay humongous amount. People used to pay 200,000-300,000. People used to wait for months. Today, people do not need to do that. That is not bad governance. I will also tell you, the Lagos Calabar Road is not bad governance. What is going on with our downstream sector is not bad governance. Of course, there are hitches. We are not denying the fact that there are hitches, but like what I always say, there is no surgery, no life-saving surgery will come without pain. That is why this is an opportunity for a statesman to take decisions, to be bold enough to take decisions that will have long-term gains while providing temporary cushion for the immediate. And the president is providing this temporary cushion. The president is also providing long-term solutions to our problems. So as a youth, I want to plead with Nigerians, especially with people of my generation, to please give this government an opportunity to solve these problems. Give this government an opportunity to be able to put Nigeria firmly and finally and fully on the path of economic recovery, on the path of economic greatness. Our population is increasing. At what rate is our GDP increasing? We need a president who will be able to sit down, remove these bottlenecks, limiting the growth of Nigeria. We need a president that will not make Nigeria the consumption headquarters of Africa, but also the production headquarters of Africa. And that is what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to do. Production in terms of our downstream, our petroleum industry, production in terms of our agricultural sector, production in terms of our health sector. He wants a scenario where a child goes to the university to study petrochemical engineering, and he doesn't end up just as a fuel attendant. He doesn't want that. He wants a child who goes to uni to study petrochemical engineering, to have an opportunity of being able to actually practicalize what he learned. Those opportunities can only come when we open the economy, when we remove the factors limiting the growth of Nigeria. Okay. So we as a government, we're pleading with Nigeria that yes, we understand what you are going through. Yes, we feel the pain. Yes, we can feel your pulse. You have the protesters have spoken. And government this is a listening government. We have picked the points, but the simple truth is this. The points we have picked are not too at variance with the plans of Mr. President. It's just a matter of time for these plans to materialize. Mr. President didn't wait for protests to be able to come up with the student loan. He didn't wait for anybody to protest. Mr. President didn't wait for protests to remove taxes, levies, and co from even the food items. Mr. President didn't wait for protests to be able to, for instance, in Ministry of Interior. I'll give you an example. I tell you, when we came on board, these people are Nigerians. We met huge backlog of promotion of officers. Some people stagnated for 10, 12, 8, 6 years. But just last year, when Mr. President came, Mr. President promoted 32,000 officers in one day. That has direct and indirect effect on nothing less than 150,000 people. He didn't wait for protests to do that. I also tell you, when Mr. President came on board, what did Mr. President meet? Mr. President meet a scenario whereby there was no peculiar allowance, there was no rent allowance for officers. These are Nigerians. Mr. President did not wait for protests to do that. Mr. President did not wait for protests to be able to subsidize even dialysis services for kidney related issues. Mr. President did not wait for protests to be able to invest massively in terms of road infrastructure. Mr. President did not wait for protests to be able to come up with humanitarian services in terms of cash transfer programs. Mr. President did not wait for protests to be able to create set up the strategy through Ministry of Communication Technology for 3 million jobs of our youth.
We'll allow
so
you to go on and on
with Nigerians.
Let's get all right. Okay.
Thank you. In addition to...
So we are pleading with Nigerians to please be patient. The closest, let me tell you, the darkest part of the night is closest to daybreak. We are at the verge when stakeholders, statesmen, patriots must unite, come together, support the administration. Election has come, election has gone. This is the time for us to unite. It's a challenging time for Nigeria. It's a challenging time for the whole world. This is the time that we must all unite behind the flag, behind Mr. President, provide solutions, create opportunity of engagement, create opportunity of idea sharing, create opportunity for nation building, knowing that it's a joint task.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Minister. We know you can talk on and on if we do not comment. I have 2 questions for you. The first, you are one of the ministers who have been in the public space communicating your programs. We know you've done some transformational work in your place. And I know for a fact that there are a couple of ministers who are also doing well in their respective places. Why is the government not bridging the gap, engaging stakeholders, and being able to talk to the people?
Information.
Why are they not passing the right information at the right time? And how can your government do better? Number one question. The second question is this. Nigerians are saying, we can sacrifice, we can wait for this gestation period to run through. But they say, while we are waiting, those in government are not waiting. We have not blocked the waste in governance. It is still business as usual. Now, how would the government assure the people, or being able to ensure that the people are seeing that the government is also paying some sacrifices, so that we know that it is not only the people that are tightening their belts, that also the government officials are tightening their belts? Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, my brother. Let me tell you, there are certain things I will say that even though I am not authorized to, but because of this moment, I will have to mention some things. Let me tell you, I am not it's not just about me defending the government. No, it's about me stating the obvious. The answer to number one solution is that this is a government that believes that actions should speak. This is not a government that is built on the principle of propaganda. This government came to fall based on integrity to tell Nigerians the way things are, and obviously for Nigerians to be able to reap the dividend of democracy. It's not we have refused to run a propaganda machine. We believe that the fund that will be used to run a propaganda machine will also create opportunities for Nigerians. We use those funds effectively. So the government has been working, as you said. But we have refused to engage in propaganda, and this government will not engage in propaganda. That is number one. Then number two, I want you to know is that the things that the government. No, before I go to your number two question, let me also say this: the things the president has done, a lot of these things are visible. Kolawole, let me ask you. This particular democracy, this republic, is 25 years old. I know you know that. Tell me from 1999 how the president that has come forward with the gut of granting local government financial autonomy. We've never had it. It is the local government that is closest to the people. Most of this anger that people are shouting, President Tinubu, Nigeria we have three tiers of government. But the one that is closest to the people is local government. President Tinubu gave the autonomy. That was a huge political decision by the president. He did that. You can't take that away. We don't need propaganda for people to know that. That's number one. Number two, as we have said, most of the things that this government have done, they are in the fore. We have a minister of information who believes in saying things the way they are, and which he's been professional. So I'm not here to defend an officer or not, but I give it to you. This is a government that believes in action more than words. And you cannot blame us because we decided to do things differently. That is why I call the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as a government of business unusual, not business as usual. Then that leads me to your number two question. I will tell you very clearly. Your number two question was about people not sacrificing. I'll tell you that this particular government has been sacrificing. As much as we are not here to justify that, but this is the wrong notion that has been peddled by some people within, some people in the media space to be able to discredit President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I will give you an example. Not less than 2 occasions has memo that has to deal with procurement, even for the presidency, come to Federal Executive Council, and the president will say, step it down. No. I can tell you this, and any member of FEC can confirm this, and the records of FEC are there. This president said, no, you cannot bring this. And also, number two, since we became minister, I will tell you, there is no minister that can tell me, maybe people say, oh, they get car allowance, they get this, and etc. Well, I don't want to go too deeply into that. But please, I believe you are investigative journalists. Go into the details of payments that public officers, especially ministers, and even that has gotten since this particular government came on board. You will appreciate that, of course, it is not exactly what people think. But the bottom line, that is not even the point. The bottom line for us is that, does this government understand the problems of the people? The answer is a yes. Is this president, is he sympathetic? Is he willing? Does he have the intention to solve these problems? The answer is yes. Is he putting the right structure on ground? The answer is yes. Do we have long-term solutions to these problems? Of course, as you can see, the answer is yes. Does the president have short-term pushing effects for some of these problems? Yes, the answer is yes. But I will plead with you. I sincerely think that this is an opportunity for us to appeal to all, regardless of political affiliation, to understand that for us to have political affiliations, there must first of all be a country. This is a moment when statesmen will be made. Okay. This is a moment when we, all stakeholders, should unite under the banner of Nigeria, kill behind the president, and know fully well that we run a constitutional democracy. And we give him all the support. The president, sorry, let me make this point. It's very important. The president has never shut anybody out of engagement. The president has never discarded any constructive engagement. We have a president that does not claim to know everything, to be an island of everything. This is a president that is listening. Why don't we channel this agitation towards meaningful engagement? Let's prefer solutions. Let's sit down and talk. Every war, even the world war, ended on the round table. Okay. Why can't we use the round table as a first option rather than as a last option? Okay,
Honorable Minister, I know that the government plans to import food on a large scale, to try and bring down the prices of food items in the market. How soon can we begin to see changes in terms of high food prices? How soon can we begin to see changes? Then, briefly, let me say, there are those who are saying that this president has been held hostage. Yeah. As somebody who works with him, what can you say about the claim that the president is aloof, that the president has been held hostage?
How accessible?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me say this. The first question, I will tell you very soon, by the grace of God. I know the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Agriculture, they're working around the clock, and I'm not in a position to be able to, because I won't come here and give an information I'm not directly involved, or that I can bet my name on. I can't give you a specific, but I know that very soon from the last Federal Executive Council, a lot is being done. The president is not sleeping. He's working so hard to make sure that there are temporary reliefs while we await permanent solutions, long-term solutions to our long-term problems. So you can be rest assured the president is working round the clock. Then when you say if anybody says the president has been held hostage, I tell you, it means you don't know President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It means you don't know him. I will tell you, 2 days ago I was with the president on an issue that has to do with correctional service. And I tell you, for more than 30 minutes, the president engaged me intellectually. He engaged me to the extent that I had the opportunity of learning a lot on that particular day from him. This is a president that is accessible. There's nobody working with the president that will tell you he's not accessible. For instance, I didn't book appointment. It was just that day that something came up in the correctional service. And I picked my phone, called and immediately come. The president opened his doors immediately in less than 5 minutes. If there's anything to discuss, the president is a great listener. And for somebody like me, I tell people, I am 42 years old, for crying out loud. I'm a young man. I've had the privilege of my life being mentored and learning from the president, because I have, what have I led? Open door policy, constant engagement. intellectual engagement. These are things I have learned from the president. And I will tell you, if he has one ambition from what I have seen, there's only one ambition that I see that the president has. The president wants to be the transformer. He wants to be the person that God will use to rewrite the story of Nigeria and put Nigeria on the path of economic prosperity. Every country has theirs. China, I said it on your sister station. China has it. You can't talk about Singapore without Lee Kuan Yew. Anyway, I said
we have to leave it there.
This president, before the end of this tenure, Nigerians will look at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and know that God has brought this man to be the Lee Kuan Yew, the transformer of Nigeria. I tell you, short-term solutions will come very soon, and long-term solutions that will create the Nigeria of our dreams.
We pray to see that very soon.
Amen.
We thank you, Minister of Interior, Olubumi Tunji Ojo. Thank you for your time. Wow, what a time. Today?
Yes. I wish other ministers can defend the president.
Yes.
Some of them,
that is
out of 48,
cannot even talk about their ministry. Some of them can't go to.
Of course.
See, some of them can't even go to their regions to market the president. Not to talk about what they are doing. They are tongue-tied. You reach out to them, they are not interested in granting interviews. And they can't defend the president where it matters the most.
Yeah.
So that's why I give him credit that he's come out blazing, defending his vote. But we still have unfinished business.
Yes, he has been.
We still have unfinished business.
Okay. Yes. The waste it. Yes. We'll talk about what was raised and, during this time of crisis and everything. As usual, we know how to go the ethnic routes.
Yes.
What do you make of this? This is another nonsense.
I think Governor Sanwo-Olu came out quickly to condemn it. Atiku Abubakar, no matter what you feel about him, he's a Nigerian who can be happy when we stigmatize fellow Nigerians and we say that Igbos should leave Lagos.
For what?
We will never join people talking this manner. It's a very reckless statement to make. No matter what you feel, you can have quarrels with your friends who are Igbos and all that. It must never get to the point that we will now say Igbos should leave Lagos. No. Every Nigerian is free to reside in the state of his choice.
Yes.
We condemn this call, and we call on Governor Sanwo-Olu, who has promised to institute a probe, that we need to know where this whole thing started from. It makes no sense.
Talking about adding value, imagine Lagos without Alaba International. Imagine Lagos without Oshodi. Imagine Lagos.
I think a bit differently.
Okay.
Because what I want to support that the governor should please institute a probe so that we know where this is coming from. You know what I'm thinking? You know what I'm saying? That it is very unlike Lagosians to start that. Number two.
Well, they don't represent the majority.
Who says this is not coming from the politician?
Trying to discredit
because of the protest. Who says that cannot be an angle? For example,
that could be some faith columnists.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, I agree with you.
Because this is not us. I can tell you that.
This does not represent the world.
I am suspecting fifth columnists playing the political game on this one.
Igbos are going.
I would like you
as the Okulo Randi Bonene. I say it here.
Okay, yes, no, let's
say it now. Yes, I'm Okulo Randi Bonene.
Yes,
Igbos. Yes, I'm their mouthpiece. That is the traditional title.
Yes,
they gave me Eze Chukwuemeka Eri.
Oh my God!
From Aguleri Kingdom gave me that title, and I speak for the Igbos on this day. Igbos are going nowhere. Lagos belongs to all of us.
Yes,
so those carry the hashtag.
Before we go, we have to go. By time is know these identity politics in our country.
All right, and that's our package today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. No, this Sunday you can watch the repeat broadcast at 11 tonight. But join us this Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. You don't want to miss it. 2 hours. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
Is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen and are of little to no use? Cooking used to be fun, but now it just feels like a chore. Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! Plus, the Cool Touch solid cast handle makes it safe and easy to cook even the hottest dishes. It's oven safe up to 500 degrees, so bake this beautiful chicken stew pizza and serve it straight from the pan. Or this tasty delicious cake that will have your whole family asking for more. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease, so cleanup is a breeze. Plus, use your hammered copper pan to make homemade pancakes that flips and slips right out. Or make mouth-watering jollof rice or even fluffy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a cook way to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
From ShopX TV.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Good evening from Lagos, everyone. I am Nifemi Oguntoye, and this is Beyond 100 Days. You can join the conversation right now on X using hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG. Now, the senior advocate of Nigeria and lawyer for one of the groups organizing the nationwide protests, Ebon Oluwadeborua, has called for an immediate suspension of protests, saying it's time to dialogue with government as sponsored agents have infiltrated the ranks of the protesters to derail their laudable mission. In a statement released today, Mr. Adegborua expressed sympathy for the losses incurred during the protests, including the death of security personnel and protesters, as well as property damaged. He commended the protesters for their peaceful conduct in various locations across the country. However, he emphasized the need for dialogue, criticizing government for ignoring the protesters' demands and failing to engage with them. He's also called on President Bola Tinubu to directly address the nation and engage the protesters' representatives. Mr. Adegborua urged the protesters to suspend their actions and give room for meaningful dialogue, warning that the protests had been hijacked by fifth columnists, leading to further losses and casualties. He concluded by commending Nigerians who participated in the protests and those who showed solidarity through peaceful civil disobedience, emphasizing that no leader should take the people for granted. So it's day 2 of the nationwide protest, and the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, says the military will do everything possible to protect the peace in the country and ensure protests across some states in Nigeria do not degenerate into anarchy. General Musa at a press conference said if the police cannot handle the security situation, military troops will be deployed to assist them.
We realize that this destruction we're doing, monies have to be used. Monies for development will have to be used to repair these things so that we can move forward. And so instead of doing that, we should come together, make sure nothing is destroyed. The statement, the message has already been passed to the federal government, the state government, and the local government. Armed forces and the entire military security agencies will not stand by and see that to continue. So I want to warn those that are recalcitrant, those that don't want to listen, that will not fold our hands and see our country to be destroyed. We will take action, and the action we'll take it professionally. Anyone that is caught will be taken to the courts to be dealt with. It's important for them to understand that working together as a team is what we require. The security forces cannot do it alone. We need all Nigerians to put hands on, together to make sure we succeed. And we stop these criminals from taking advantage.
Also, the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi says the police is concerned about the nature of the nationwide protest in the country. Mr. Adejobi says the police force will ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order during the demonstrations, as officers have been placed on red alert.
Concerned about the dimension this protest is taking, because if we notice what happened yesterday, just barely 2 hours into the protest, we have recorded many ugly incidences across the country, and particularly in most of the major cities, where we're having cases of looting, attacks on police officers and other security agencies. The IGP has made it clear yesterday in his live broadcast that we are on a red alert. All officers and security agencies across the country have been put on red alert to make sure we don't report any ugly incidents anywhere in Nigeria again.
Well, we covered day 2 of the nationwide protest here in Lagos, and we also witnessed the interaction between police personnel and protesters at the Ojota area of the state.
Yesterday, there was no breakdown of law and order, and we want to assure you now that there will be no breakdown of law and order. We're here to give you security. We're here to protect you and to ensure that there is no infiltration, that hoodlums does not infiltrate your ranks to cause chaos here. We have seen responsible Nigerians here, and we know that you are here working in line with the Constitution, working in line with the law, and we'll give you protection. Be rest assured that we will not hurt you.
Senior correspondent Sarah Yeko just got back from Ojota. She's right here with me in the studio. Sarah, yesterday we saw the senior police officers, wearing their red bands. Yeah. And we saw them on the field again. Talk to us about how it played out today, because they said they are on red alert. Did you see the reddish nature of policing?
Well, we saw that they were really ready to, of course, ensure that to ensure the protection of these protesters. As at 8 a.m., although the protest didn't start on time, we're expecting that to start about 7 a.m. So at about 7 a.m., not a lot of persons were at the Ganifa Park, which is one of the designated points, for the protesters. So we gave it up to about 8:40. Then we saw some number of protesters gather, give themselves some kind of briefing, and then, of course, talk to the police officers, because the police officers wanted them to go into the Ganifa Park. Now, the danger of the Ganifa Park, just as the protesters have said, is that they have just one exit point. So if they go into the Ganifa Park, if anything happens, they cannot get out on time, and there could be a stampede. So they had all that back and forth with the police officers. So you saw the ACP, Paul Okafor, addressing them and asking them to leave the road, And so at some point they went into the park, but some protesters decided not to go into the park because they were scared. They had cited some security issues and all of that stuff. And then later on, when the commissioner of police, it came like an angel, just to douse the tension, between the protesters and the security officers that were on the field at the time. And so when the commissioner came in, it was more like, we don't want to stay in Ganifa Park. We want to be allowed to protest on the streets. And so there was some sort of consensus between the protesters and the security officers, which is you can only use the service lane. And so for the protesters, it was some sort of victory, although it's small, but then they were very happy that the commissioner of police could listen to them. And so for the interaction between the police and the protesters, it was pretty civil. Yeah. There was no tear gas as we've seen in other protests. And as we even saw yesterday, I think someone was injured yesterday. It was an isolated issue. And this is something that the protesters have said, that they will ensure that this protest is peaceful, devoid of any kind of disturbance from the so-called hoodlums, that may want to infiltrate. And that's what the police actually did today by ensuring that these hoodlums do not infiltrate the protest.
Mr. Governor also had some commendation for the conduct of protesters yesterday. Some have said that Lagosians have learnt from what happened during the NSAS protest, and everyone is careful. Everyone is an advocate of, you know, whatever you're doing on the streets,
let it be peaceful.
Let it be peaceful.
Let it be peaceful.
And one of the lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, Ebon Adegboruwa, is also asking that they should leave the streets now and engage in meaningful dialogue. Do you see that body language? Do you think that the protesters and indeed the Lagos state government, for instance, are ready to sit across the table to talk?
I think so. I think so. Because if you don't have a dialogue, you are at a deadlock. So it's important that the protesters, of course, you know, there was some sort of dialogue we saw today between the protesters and the security officers. We saw that same dialogue between the protesters, among the protesters themselves, because you had the civil society organizations who are like the soli guys, right? And we also saw them, you know, talking to other Nigerians who had joined the protest, you know, asking them questions about, okay, should we extend the protest time? Should we come tomorrow by 7 a.m.? Should we come back on Monday? So there was all the dialogue. So if you don't have dialogue, you can't have anything done in the country. We cannot afford to be at a stalemate in the country. Absolutely. And so that's why I see that they want a dialogue. Particularly one of the protesters that said that they're expecting the president to address them anytime soon. So if they already have that expectation, you know, so we're also expecting that the president will say, and the president, of course, has come up to say certain things, of course, through his ministers, through various agencies, and come up with certain economic policies. Now, it's just having that understanding with the people to say, okay, let's give this economic policies some time to actualize. And so that's where we're at this time.
Interesting development. Senior correspondent Sarah Yeko, thank you for the update there. Of course. All right, we're going to turn to the southeast, where apparently Southeasterners have boycotted this national protest. We'll be talking about that in a minute. But let me share this cheering news with you, and it's for pensioners. The federal government is now set to commence the payment. I need to fetch the story right now. Of course, it's the payment of the arrears of their pension increment this August. The Executive Secretary, Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, Chioma Ejikeme, says this while addressing some pensioners in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. We have details with Ibrahim Alege.
In fulfillment of the constitutional provision for a 5-yearly pension increment, President Bola Tinubu approved a new pension increment effective January 2024. This appears to be the first time that the federal government has proactively and promptly implemented this constitutional provision. The Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, has now concluded arrangements to commence the implementation of this increment with the payment of the accrued arrears this August.
It has never happened. Before, the pensioners will have to protest and remind and all of that, but this was proactive. This was an intentional complying with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we are intensely and immensely grateful to Mr. President for this.
The pensioners, who are the direct beneficiaries, are quite appreciative of this presidential approval.
I've never seen a time when the government of the day we pay salary for staff or increase salary for staff and pay and they increase pensions at the same time. You know, this is the first time the government of the day is doing that.
And we are really impressed by Mr. President Ahmed Tinubu. He has been trying to take care of us, especially this time that we are. He implemented our money.
The Pension Directorate now has a new office in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital. This is to remove the burden of pensioners having to travel to Abuja to sort out their issues.
We are using this opportunity to talk to the pensioners, wherever they are, the pension unions, relations of pensioners, to please request for the pensioners to try and confirm their liveness. We have a mobile team right now in Kwara, going around to take care of bedridden pensioners, pensioners who are infirm, who cannot get those things done.
He has made a big relief for our old pensioners. For those of us that are working in the pension department, at least we have enough time, at least to even rest a little bit. Because we received several complaints. And having this office here, I think it will ease our job.
The Kwara State office is the second in the North Central Zone. Ibrahim Alige, TVC News, Ilorin.
We'll return with more after this break. Stay with us, everyone.
In Marina Station and all the passengers. Efficient, it's comfortable.
This development will go a long way in reducing